Welcome to the Lotco Business Podcast, a show all about helping you as a retailer, brand, or creative understand the actual business side of running your business. I offer straightforward, practical advice about the nitty-gritty of making money from your creative passion. We will be covering bite-sized business and marketing lessons, as well as interviews with experts and trailblazers in the fashion, homewares, and design industries. My name is Melissa Robbins. I'm a business coach, colour-loving, non-coffee drinking Melburnian. Let's get into it. Hello and welcome to today's podcast. My name's Melissa Robbins. I am here today to share a little bit of tidbits from background knowledge of many years myself having my own retail store, as well as being a brand who had sold into lots of different retail stores as well. And then I used to be a national sales manager for a brand where I would work with retailers and work with wholesale to get into, more stores. So the clients I work with now are quite varied in terms of I work with a lot of retail stores, physical bricks and mortar stores who have multi-brand in their store. And then I work with the brands as well to get them into those stores and also work on their direct-to-consumer online business and having that, well-rounded products-based business. All the different programs that I build and create and love helping clients, work through different issues or working through different strategies that they need to focus on is all about having that product-based business that considers lots of different things. So it shouldn't just be about I don't believe it should just be about one sales channel like e-commerce. It shouldn't just be about one sales channel like wholesale. It shouldn't just be about your marketing, but should also incorporate that holistic view of, what does your lifestyle look like? What is your pricing? What is your margins? How do you actually manage your staff in your business? All the different elements that I like helping my clients work through so that they have the business of their dreams, ideally, that gives them the freedom that they want, that gives them the time back that they want to, make different choices about what they do with their life and their time and their energy. And, also have that, that creative passion come out and allow them to have that creativity that they love, but also understand how to run the business side of the business and not just, spend all the time in the creative as well. Anyway, a long way around that is that I have had lots of experience with being a retailer as well as being a wholesaler. And so what today's podcast is all about is what are some things that retailers wish that brands knew about working with them and about being in wholesale and having them as a stockist. So let's just get into them. I'm going to just reel them all out. And as I said, this is from years of experience of doing it myself, but also working with both groups and both parties now in my roadmap program and, how they work together. That relationship and connection between the two is so important. So let's get into it. Number one is that the retailers are giving you floor space and exposure to hundreds and hundreds of customers. That's what you're paying them for. That's why you give them that margin, because they are exposing you to hundreds more customers than what you could potentially get yourself on your own website, your own Instagram. So what you're paying for is that space on the shelf for them to get you in front of lots more customers. All right. So be aware that their floor space, their shelf space is precious. And so that's why it has to be the right fit for them, the right product, and they've got to be able to move it fast for them to be able to have that cash flow come into their business as well. They can't give you that shelf space if you don't give them the right margin. So you need to give them the right margin, which means at least sort of 50% on top of what they paying you. So 100% markup. If they buy it for $5, they want to sell it for $10, essentially, plus taxes, depends on where you live, how that's calculated out. But you've got to give them margin. Generalization, most retail stores are running around, a 50% profit margin. If they're lucky, most are probably at between 40 and 50. Some are probably less. Others may be higher, depends if they have any of their own products in store as well. But they only getting that small amount, and it's about them turning over lots of volume and moving that through fast. That's why they can afford not to have as much. But it is tight. So the more margin you can give them, the better. And they're not going to give you floor space or shelf space if you're only giving them 40% off a retail price or 30%. It's just not worth it for them. So unless your product depends also if you've got a fast-moving consumer good like a food or books, or even they're slightly different. But generally speaking, on lifestyle products, fashion products, homewares, they are all that 100% markup. All right, when you're making contact with the retailers, they get a shit ton of emails. They get so many emails a day. And when I had my retail store, and this was back, 10 years ago, or not quite 10 years ago now, but I would get so many emails, and that, there'd be so more that come through now than what they ever used to be. They don't have time to read everything. They are going to miss emails. So number one, keep it really simple and short and straight to the point. Don't waffle. Don't give too much other superfluous information. Get straight to the point. And then also repeat and send emails if you didn't get a response, or if you already have a relationship with them, they have your product in store, but you still didn't get a response. Send another email. Don't expect that everyone's going to see your email the first time. The more, and not everyone's inbox is at 0, because I can tell you mine is not. So just make sure that you actually, repeat send things to people, and don't expect that they're going to read huge long emails. Get straight to the point. And make sure you have a good subject line in there as well, so they know what it's actually about. So that will help them figure out, which ones to open and where they are if they need to search for it again as well. The easier you make it to get your product online, if they are selling on their online store as well, the faster they will get that on there, and the more they'll sell that through, so then they can buy more product from you, hopefully reorder. So the easier you make it to get your products online, the better. I like to talk about in my wholesale program, where I'm sharing this, with lots of different brands. One thing I love is to give, say, a Google sheet where you've got the name of your products, the wholesale, the retail price, a product description, maybe a link to where all your photos are, and then naming your photos so they actually tell the customer what they are. So let's say they're the lifestyle shot, or they're, the pink vase with a front shot, or they're a pink vase with the styled shot, or whatever it might be. So actually tell them in the photo title what it is. Anyone here who has loaded products onto a website, and let's say you get a whole invoice and you get 50 new products into your store, and you or your staff member are loading those products onto your website to get them to try and sell through as quickly as possible, then the faster you can make that, the easier you can make that, it's going to make life so much simpler. So getting your product online, helping your retailers out by giving them the right information to be able to do that. And you might give it to them prior to them actually getting their order as well, so then they can prep. And then as soon as they actually know the exact, say, stock quantity they have, they can just put the numbers in, and then it can go live quite quickly. So getting them ready for that is really important, and giving them all the tools to be able to do that as a brand is really important as well. The more you support them, the better for everyone. So the more you push and, tell on your line, your social media, that you've got these particular stockists, the better it is, because then more people will know about them as well. The more you can support them with the imagery that you give them, the right product descriptions, the right invoice, the right packing information when they actually get that delivery, the more you can support the retailer, it's a win for everyone, because the faster they get that out on their shelf as well, faster they get it online, the more chance they have of selling that through, and selling it through at full margin without having to discount or anything. And so they're going to want to get more stock faster and faster every time. So making sure you support them as much as possible. Next one is, sometimes it's better to swap out the stock that isn't selling for them. It's better for everyone. Like, you might need that stock in your warehouse, or in one of your other stores has sold it really well, so you could give it to them. But the more you can actually help them move the product that they have and swap it out potentially. Maybe they have, let's just say I had saltwater sandals in my store. If I had a whole lot of yellow ones left, it would be better if I'd swapped them out for different colours, then that's something that she would have done, because it really would have helped me. She knew that I was going to reorder more stock and it wouldn't take long. But if I had my cash flow caught up in this stock that wasn't moving, it was much harder for me. So that's not always going to work. Sometimes you're not going to want to do that. But the better you can work with your retailer to see, is there anything, and this is where this would be more about a long-term relationship. You're not going to do it the first time you actually deliver the product into store, but maybe that's something you can do over time as well. Sometimes Express is a good way to get the order to them quickly. Now, I used to do this with lots of my brands. I would place orders and need them straight away because I ordered them in for a customer. So yes, of course, I could have sent them to the to the retail, the actual online store, but it was about servicing my customer and trying to help my customer and get them back into my store as well. So if my brand could have sent something express, which again, the saltwater sandals used to do quite a lot, then that would be really helpful. So sometimes do things that you don't normally do, like go above and beyond, go do something, extra for your retailer, so that's going to be encouraged to buy from you again and again and again. Cash flow is tough. So if you as a brand ask a store to pay for product, they're going to want that product pretty quickly. So you can't ask a store to pay a deposit or pay, their invoice and then not deliver something for 3 or 4 weeks or even longer sometimes. Making sure that you actually, if you take their money for their order, you actually get their order to them as soon as possible. And that means, really between 3 and 7 days, unless you've told them otherwise. But if I've paid for an order, I really want to get that as soon as possible so I can get my money back on that as soon as possible as well as a retailer. Cash flow is always tight and tough, especially these days. So making sure that if you take the order from your customer as a brand, you take that money and then actually send it as soon as possible. So send the stock so they can sell it. Next is communication is key. Make sure that you let them know when delivery times are going to be, or let's say that they've ordered at a trade show and then the order's coming in 3 months. Make sure that you let them know, whether that's 6 weeks out, 4 weeks out, hey, this is expected here, this is when the delivery will be, so they can start prepping for when they can pay you and when what the cash flow looks like that month and stuff like that. So communication is really key on whether delivery's late or a style's missing or, the size is run short, so you haven't got enough to give them, or you expect to be, their pro forma invoice is going to come out here and get paid then, and then delivery will be here and here. So really, communication is really important. Don't just take the order and then forget about it and just send them the invoice, and expect to get paid the next day. All right, the next on the agenda is retail can be really tough. So help your retailer out as much as possible. Support them as much as possible. Provide the right, imagery that they need. Make it easy for them to respond to you or to order from you. How can you send them information or give them giveaways or samples or gift with purchases? What can you do to support your retail store? And what can you do to, send customers to them? What can you do to, help them give point of sale so things sell through faster? So build up your brand and advertise your brand and showcase what stores you're at so that really you're supporting that retailer as much as possible. Physical retail stores need a lot of support from their brands and from, the people around them. They need to have all multiple ways for them to generate customers coming into store as well. So the more you can support them, make it easy for them to reorder from you, make it easy for them to understand, when your stock is, what you have available in stock, how quickly the turnaround is. Giving them all that information can really just help that transition and that relationship grow. So how can you support that retailer and understand that it's not easy having a retail store? They've got a lot of pressure. They don't have a huge margin to work with. They need as much margin as possible. They need as much support from you as possible to get that product out there. They want to support you. They want to sell more of their product. So it's a win-win for everyone if you can support them to sell more of your product in their store. All right, simple ordering. Ideally, you would make it really easy to reorder. Now, everyone is going to be different in terms of the way that you allow your retail stores, the buyers, to buy from you, but the easier you can make it, the better. So do you have, a number of ways to do it. So not everyone has to have an online ordering system, but that can be useful and it can much faster. It can definitely be much easier if you have that online ordering system. A number of times when I had my retail store, what I would do is, I might not have had that particular size or color or style in store for customers, but I wanted to help them and I wanted them to have that pleasant customer experience. So I would order things in for them. So I would look on the wholesaler's website while I was talking to the customer, see if it was in stock. So having stock levels online can be a really great way that you're going to get more repeat orders as well, because the buyer can then see if it's in stock. They may tell the customer, they might take an order from it or take a deposit even, and then as a order, I would often order what the customer wanted plus some extra stuff as well. So I would make the most of, placing that new reorder or whatever as well. So how can you make that reordering process as simple as possible? This is where I always talk about having a physical catalog and a physical order form as well as a digital version so that you can streamline that process as well. So really help them out in that way. Don't undercut your retailers as soon as, they get their stock. There's something happened, I think it was last year at the trade show. A lot of people came up and said to me, I've just been so burnt as a retailer. I ordered these brands wholesale. We got our order and then they had this huge sale. They went online and had a huge sale. And that just hurts as a retail store owner. You're doing everything you can to support these brands and to, give floor space, merchandise them, train your staff on how to sell them and so on and what the story is behind the brand. And then they go and have a sale online. It's really hard. So you don't have to not have a sale, but choose your timing wisely. Maybe just have a number of sales a year that are the same as what other people are having in terms of maybe it's Black Friday or maybe it's, one of the sort of end of financial year, whatever it might be, but don't do it like every couple of weeks or as soon as your stores all get their stock. So be really conscious of supporting the retailer and not going on sale too quickly and not going on sale too often and undercutting what they're, because if they've only bought it from you for 50% off, they can't then do a 60% off sale from retail because it's just not going to make any money for them at all. All right, staff training. The better information you can give your staff, the staff of the retail store, the better they can sell the product. So can you give when you deliver your order, can you give some information about what your product is? What are some parts of your story? What are the values? What's the background of it? What is it made of? How can the staff use the information to sell the product better, to tell the customer the story behind the product as well? So the more information you can give also, the better that is if that goes into the delivery as well, because often if the buyer is someone who's not in the store, they might be at head office or they may be in another space. They're not necessarily giving the staff all that information, so you can deliver it in the box when you deliver orders. The easier you can make that as well in terms of the invoice you put in there, the packing slip you put in there. Have that information about the product in there, so then the staff can enter that into the computer and stuff like that too, or into their point of sale system. So the better information you can give at that point, then the greater chance that the staff have got a story to tell about the product and talk to their customers who are coming in and, sell that product for you as well. And that's really what Wholesale is about. Like all the staff and all the retail stores are acting as sales agents for your product. So it's such a privilege for having your stock in a store and having space on the retail shelf and having those staff and the retail buyers and the owners actually talk about your product and sell your product and merchandise your product and style it and set it up and layer it and compose it with other things in their store, curate it and make this amazing spaces and places with your product. So understand that that's a privilege to have that as well. And I think some people get caught up as a brand and think about only the unit price that they're getting for wholesale. And if you've heard any of my other podcasts, you would have heard me talk about it quite a lot. Wholesale is a long game, and it's not about the unit price that you get per product. It is about the long game and how long that person can be a customer of yours and the lifetime value of having a retail buyer that you work with for years and years and years and nurturing that relationship. That's what it should be about. So retailers would love you to consider that when you're selling to them, that you look at them as a long-term customer as well, because potentially they could be. In terms of the information that you're going to give the staff to, potentially point of sale depends on what your product is and where it's going to sit and how it's going to be displayed. But think about what your point of sale should look like. And if maybe you potentially have a strut card or some information to go out with your products as well, so that can be used in the display also. Okay, something else to remember, and I hear this a lot in my wholesale program and in my roadmap program where we do wholesale as well, really talking about that you cannot just send out your order to your retail stores and then forget about them. You need to follow up with them. You need to service them. You need to contact them again and again to see how they're going, to see if they need any assistance, to see if they've, what's moved and what's worked really well for them. You are not annoying them by contacting them again. To be able to get reorders and to have that lifetime value, as we just talked about, be really strong, you need to have that relationship and have an ongoing communication with your buyers or your store owners, and making sure that you make it simple to reorder. You contact them, and, maybe I've said to someone before, even getting an email like, how's it going? They might have had the product in the store for, let's say, 2 weeks. Send me a 1, 2, or 3 and let me know how things are. And on the 1, it might be, things are going really well. We're all good for stock at the moment. Number 2 might be, oh my gosh, loving everything. Customers stop buying them. We need to reorder. Number 3 might be, something else, like give me a call straight away so I can place another order. Whatever it might be. I'm just, giving an example of 1, 2, 3. How can you make it really simple and easy for the retailer to answer without having this, long email or long correspondence? Just make it simple and quick for them to respond. So removing those barriers for people to reorder and buy. And you'll get to know which buyers like to do things which way. Some people will just order online if you have that available. Some people will just order by text. Some people will order by email. Some people will order by, email with the order form. Everyone is going to do things differently. So every buyer is going to have a different need or want of how they like to reorder. But definitely make sure that you make contact to get that reorder and talk about how they're going. How can you support them? What else can you send them? Maybe you've got new content. Maybe you can share that in an email, and I would have regular emails going out to your wholesale list of actual current stockists that you have. Sharing with them, what the latest PR you might have. What is the, here's some video reels that you could use as content, or who was an influencer that used your product, and you could share that as well. The more information you can give them to help them spread the word about your product as well, then the more they're going to do it. They're time poor. They don't have time to come up with all their own content. So the more you can share and help them, the better. All right. So lots of things there, and I'm sure I would love to hear from retailers if after you've listened to this, you're like, okay, Mel, you've missed about 5 things. I need to tell them now this as well. Maybe we need a part 2. I'd love to hear your feedback, and I'd love to hear what sort of things you wish that brands knew when they were dealing with wholesale and they were selling to you as a retailer. I would love to hear that feedback again. These are all the things that in my programs, I love that the interaction between the wholesale brand and the actual retail store owner is, occurring all the time as well, because in my roadmap program, I have both retailers and wholesale brands. And then in my mastermind, I have retailers and brands, and we can really learn from each other and really, help each other be better, work together in a, more symbiotic way. So then it really is a beautiful relationship, and how to nurture those relationships ongoing, and to help each other, sell more product and to grow as brands or grow as, what's available, and really make sure that you are considering each other's position. So, of course, there's going to be stores who might buy your product once and they never buy it again. There may be brands that, you've desperately got into store and then they just don't work for your customers as a retail store owner. So how can you support each other? Understand that each person is doing their best to be loyal. Like, brands want to stay with the same store as long as they can, as long as obviously they're getting paid and the cash flow, and, the person is ordering regularly enough, or enough of their range. And then as a retailer, obviously try to support the brand by having enough in store, giving them the right floor space, giving them the, good merchandising, sharing them on your socials, sharing them on your emails, making sure that you loading it onto your website. All those things are going to help, develop those relationships. One thing I just thought of then as well is offering an experience, because I talked about this last week in the podcast about, how can you add an experience to your retail? So that's something that retailers would love as well. If the brands reached out and just said, hey, this is something I could do. If it's of interest, let me know. What creative things can you come up with as a brand to support the retailer and say, hey, I could come in and do talk through the product, or I can go through a range, have a fashion parade. I could, do a demonstration. I could do I don't know, it depends on what your product is, a soap making, like obviously I don't know what it could be, but there's all different things that you could do as a brand to support your retailers. How can you ask them and talk to them about what they would want or what would work for them, and how you can make it easy for them too. Don't overcomplicate and, asking too much of them as well. But they've obviously got some floor space. They've got their own retail space. So it'd be great to see how you could work together in that relationship as well. All right. I hope that has been helpful. I wanted to share this week all about retail because, as I said, I do work with lots of retail store owners. I do work with lots of brands who have retail stores as well as sell online. And so having that connection between the two is really important to me. So make sure you are supporting your retail stores, your local retail stores, the ones in your local community, any small retail store when you travel. Really go in and, appreciate all the way that they curate the beautiful amount of brands that they bring together, the way they select their pieces, the way they display them and merchandise. And they do such an amazing job. So I would love, anyone to share your favorite retail store online after listening to this. Tell a little bit of a story about them. Let us know when you're shopping in there, and share the love. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode. I look forward to sharing more with you soon. Thanks. Thank you so much for listening to the Lotco Business Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure you subscribe to receive future episodes as they are released. And I'd be so grateful for a review on Apple Podcast. If you would like a copy of the show notes or any of the links mentioned today, please jump onto my website at thelotco.com.au/podcast. Have an amazing week, and I look forward to chatting to you again soon.